Human digestive system in detail. Part 1 has been completed. Part 2, lower gastrointestinal tract, comprises section E and F. Today section E is going to be start. Lower gastrointestinal tract includes small intestine and all of the large intestine. The intestine is also called the bowel or the gut. The lower gastrointestinal starts at the pyloric sphincter of the stomach and finishes at the anus. Partially digested food starts to arrive in the small intestine as semi-liquid chyme. In the small intestine, the pH becomes crucial. It needs to be finely balanced in order to activate digestive enzymes. The chyme is very acidic with a low pH, having been released from the stomach, and needs to be made much more alkaline. This is achieved in the duodenum by the addition of bile from the gallbladder combined to bicarbonate secretions from the pancreatic duct and also from secretions of bicarbonate-rich mucus from duodenal glands known as Brunner's glands. The small intestine is subdivided into the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. The cecum marks the division between the small and large intestine. The large intestine includes the rectum and anal canal. The chyme arrives in the intestine, having been released from the stomach through the opening of the pyloric sphincter. The resulting alkaline fluid mix neutralizes the gastric acid, which would damage the lining of the intestine. The mucus component lubricates the walls of the intestine. When the digested food particles are reduced enough in size and composition, they can be absorbed by the intestinal wall and carried to the bloodstream. The first receptacle for this chyme is the duodenal bulb. From here it passes into the first of the three sections of the small intestine. The duodenum, next jejunum and ileum can be seen in the picture. Duodenum is the first and shortest section of the small intestine. It is hollow, jointed C-shaped tube connected to the stomach to the jejunum. It starts at the duodenal bulb and ends at the suspensory muscle of the duodenum. The attachment of the suspensory muscles to the diaphragm is thought to help the passage of food by making a wider angle at its attachment. Most food digestion takes place in the small intestine. Segmentation contractions act to mix and move the chyme more slowly in the small intestine, allowing more time for absorption, and these continue in the large intestine. In the duodenum, pancreatic lipase is secreted together with a coenzyme, colipase, to further digest the fat content of the chyme. From this breakdown, smaller particles of emulsified fats called chylomicrons are produced. There are also digestive cells called enterocytes lining the intestines. They are unusual cells in that they have villi on their surface, which in turn have innumerable microvilli on their surface. All these villi make for a greater surface area, not only for the absorption of chyme but also for its further digestion by large numbers of digestive enzymes present on the microvilli. The chylomicrons are small enough to pass through the enterocytes villi and into their lymph capillaries called lacteals. The suspensory muscle marks the end of the duodenum and the division between the upper gastrointestinal tract and the lower gastrointestinal tract. Jejunum continues as the ileum. The jejunum, which is the midsection of the small intestine, contains circular folds, flaps of double mucosal membrane, which partially encircle and sometimes completely encircle the lumen of the intestine. These folds, together with villi, serve to increase the surface area of the jejunum, enabling an increased absorption of digested sugars, amino acids, and fatty acids into the blood streams. The circular folds also slow the passage of food, giving more time for nutrients to be absorbed in ileum section, which is the last part of the small intestine. This also contains villi and vitamin B12, bile acids, and any residue nutrients are absorbed here. When the chyme is exhausted of its nutrients, the remaining waste material changes into the semi-solids called feces, which pass to the large intestine where bacteria in the gut flora further break down residual proteins and starches. Transit time through the small intestine is an average of 4 hours, while half of the food residues of a meal have emptied from small intestine by an average of 5.4 hours after ingestion. Emptying of the small intestine is complete after an average of 8.6 hours. Cecum and the large intestine will other lecture. These are the terms from today's lecture, sought out by the students, and thank you.